Okay, so boys and girls, there are many interesting text and graphic features in informational text, and we really need to pay attention to these. They're not just there for decoration. They serve a purpose in our reading, and so we need to pay attention to them. Now, some of the things I want to talk to you about are called headings and subheadings. Now, authors use headings and subheadings to let their readers know what each section of text is about. These text features help readers to find information in a text more quickly. So let's say we were reading something that is all about cats, and you wanted to know specific information about a cat. You would use the heading or the subheading to find that information. So if you wanted to know about caring for a cat, you would find the subheading or heading that said caring for a cat. Or if you wanted to know about feeding a cat, you would look for the heading or subheading that said feeding a cat. It would help you locate that information quickly. So you wouldn't have to read the whole article about a cat. You would be able to find that information very quickly because it would be in the heading or subheading. Now, boys and girls, an author also might have illustrations, and they might put labels on the illustrations. Now, we've seen that before, haven't we? We've seen illustrations, and they label it. And the labels help connect the illustrations and the text. Now, we also see sidebars. Now, a sidebar is like this. They're boxed information that adds to the main text, so it's extra information. We see that a lot when we're reading that there's sidebars. Who's ever seen something with a sidebar? Have you ever seen that? I see it all the time, maybe in magazines have sidebars where they have extra information about something. Informational text often has sidebars where they'll have extra information about something. They'll put it in a sidebar, and that's what that's called, that extra little box. And it adds to the main text. It tells you some more information, okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to be looking for some of those extra text and graphic features in our story, the U.S. Constitution, which is such an interesting story. I hope, has anybody shared any of this information with their parents that they've learned? No? Yes, you have? Very good. I'm so glad you have, because this is super interesting information. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at our paper. And it's going to help us look for some of these text and graphic features that we really want to pay attention to. So let's look on page 237 and 238 of our book. That's where we're going to kind of focus. So let me find those pages in our book. 237, 238. Let's go to those pages. Are they together, boys and girls? No. Okay, so here's page 237. So what we're going to do is we're going to read 237, and then we'll read 238. Okay, first we'll look at 237. How's that? Because that's what we need first. So let's all turn to page 237, and it is got a heading. Okay. So let's look.
2. Articles. The 7 articles of the Constitution explain the branches of the U.S. government. They tell what those branches can and cannot do. In the United States, the people run the government. Americans have the right to vote. When they vote, Americans choose the people who will work for them in the government. The articles divide the U.S. government into 3 branches. Each branch has different powers. No one branch can become stronger than the others. This is called a balance of power. Every branch is equal. The Articles allow people in government to keep all Americans safe. They say that the government can build an army and a navy to guard the country.
Okay. So boys and girls. So let's look at that. What do we know? It says, does the illustration on page 237, does the illustration on page 237 connect to the sidebar? So let's look at that sidebar, boys and girls. In the blue box of the main text. And why? What do you think? Check it out and tell me what you think. Does it? What do you think? Does that illustration connect to the sidebar? Let me go back. Does it? So let's think about that. What do you think? What do you think, Juliana?
Yes,
Yes, and why do you think that?
because we both are talking about the government.
They're both talking about the government? Okay. What do you think, Julia? Kelsey?
No, because in the blue box it's talking about the Army and the Navy, and then it's talking about the information.
It's talking about the Army and Navy. What do you think? What do you think, Olive?
Yes, because on page 237, the text is about articles, and then it tells you more about articles in the blue box.
It tells you more about articles in the blue box. What do you think? Well, you know what? I think we need to read page 238 because it's, you know what, we need to read 238 as well. Because we are, is the illustration on 237 in the blue box or the main text? Or the main text. Does the illustration on 237 connect to the sidebar in the blue box or the main text? Let's go to 238. Let's read 238 as well.
The executive branch. This branch is made up of the president, the vice president, and the people who help them do their jobs. It is headquartered in the White House. The judicial branch. This branch is the court system. Judges see that laws are carried out in the right way. The judicial branch is headquartered in the Supreme Court, the highest court in the United States. The legislative branch. This branch is made up of the Congress, which is divided into two parts, the House of Representatives and the Senate. Congress makes the nation's laws. It is headquartered in the Capitol.
Okay, so they're considering, boys and girls, this to be the sidebar. So when I think of a sidebar, I think of something bigger, don't you? But they're considering that to be the sidebar. That's the sidebar. So now here's what they want to know. They want to know, does the illustration on 237, which is this illustration, does that connect to the sidebar in this blue box, or is it connecting to the main text, what they're talking about here? What is it connecting to again? What'd you say, Kelsey?
The article.
It's connecting to what? It's connecting to this, right? So it's not connecting to the picture. You're right, it's not connecting to the picture at all. So let's write that. You are so correct. So no, it's not connecting to that. That's so, it connects to the main text. So And why does it connect to the main text? Because what is it showing? What is that picture showing? Teddy?
Them voting.
Yes, because it showing a person chose, it shows people voting. It shows a lady, but we'll just say people, shows people voting. Okay, so that's what it's showing. And so then we want to know, how does this sidebar connect to the rest of the text? So what is the sidebar telling us? What's the sidebar telling us? Avery, what is the sidebar telling us?
It tells us about like the government, and in the text, it also tells us about the government.
Well, but exactly what is the sidebar telling us? Read the sidebar. The sidebar is in the blue.
The articles,
And what about the articles?
the text talks about the articles.
Yes, Juliana?
They're talking about how to keep people safe with the government.
Yes, they tell us how the articles are telling us how the government can keep us safe. So that's how it's telling us. So it gives information about how the articles keep us safe. So how people in government keep American people safe. So the articles, the sidebar gives more information, we'll say, more information about how the government keeps the American people safe. Okay, now let's go to the diagram on page 238. We're going to have to look at that diagram. So there is a diagram, that's a diagram of the three of what that is. What do the labels tell about? So we're going to look at the labels on page 238. That is a diagram. And what is that about? Teddy?
The labels tell us what the text is talking about.
Yes, and what precisely is the text talking about?
All the branches of the government.
And how many are there?
3.
The 3 branches of government. So that is what that is telling us. The 3 branches of government. So we're going to write down the 3 branches of government. The labels tell us the 3 branches of government. Okay? Now, we want to know, why is it helpful to have these kind of illustrations with these texts? Why is it good? So, did everybody write that? So I'm going to bring up the page again so we can look at it. I'm going to go to this page. So why is it helpful to have these illustrations with this text? Why did we need to have these illustrations? Why do you think? Any idea? Somebody who hasn't answered me already. Why do you think? Why is it helpful to have these pictures? What do you think? What do you think, Yanni? Why do you think that's a good idea?
Because if they don't show us the pictures, we're not gonna know where it is and what does it look like.
Yeah, what these buildings look like, right? So now we get to see what the White House looks like, what the Supreme Court looks like, what the Capitol building looks like. Very good. So now we know what those buildings look like, so we can see what they look like. Very nice. So now we can picture. I'm going to go to a new page. So we can picture what the buildings look like. We can picture what these buildings look like. We always want to be able to form a picture in our head of what things look like, right, boys and girls? And so now they've given us the labels, and we can see what they look like. Instead of just naming them, now we know what they look like. We always want to be able to see. Don't you like to have a picture in your head? So now they've given us the picture. I'm afraid that at first when we started doing this page, I kept looking on 237 for what my vision of a sidebar is, and then looking at the blue one, I was feeling very confused at first because that did not look like a regular sidebar to me. It looked more like a caption to me, but they're using it as a sidebar. So very good. You know what you could do? You could put a star on it, okay? Put a star on it.